Join Hans Olsen in the Zone, broadcasting live from the Royal Court Pickleball Club, Utah's new state-of-the-art indoor pickleball facility in Harriman. Today from noon to 3, stop by for prizes, food, and fun. We had David Locke on earlier this morning. If you missed it, I had a long chat with him about where the Jazz are going with the rebuild, why they may or may not be interested in the various rumored/proposed deals with Golden State, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, the pluses and minuses, all those deals. You can hear that wherever you get your podcasts, and you can catch up to that. And I did ask him at the end, how good is this 2026 draft? I've read it's supposed to be great. We've heard 2025, the upcoming one, is going to be really good. Locke's point was that stuff really gets overblown. The 2023 draft was supposed to be awesome. And past Victor Wembanyama, awesomeness is to be determined. We'll see. But there's this notion that the rebuild's going to be a little longer. There's no big game hunting and no trade out there that can really turn things around in the short term. So a third year of the rebuild, a fourth year, how long does this go? And PK, I was talking to somebody, the kind of person who can buy tickets to basketball and hockey games, both the Jazz and the Utah Hockey Club.
Oh, you guys. I'm sick of you hanging out with the Huntsmans.
Nice. It was not a Huntsman. And so basically you got to be really wealthy, or you've got to either be owning or managing the business that has that kind of money, because this is well beyond most people's family finances at this point. Tickets are so expensive to games. And basically the questions were aggressive, like, is this rebuild going to keep going? How much longer do they think they have? You talk to people and they don't like it. It was just all this aggressive. And I said, now, as long as they keep paying it, they can be as mad about it as they want. If they keep buying the tickets, which is near, I don't know, but as near as I can tell, I think this person's going to buy tickets to both these games. So maybe they're just blowing off steam. But I do wonder about the fan base's patience for the rebuild and what they will do with their entertainment money if they get really fed up. Would, of course, concern Ryan, although at this point, if they shift it over to hockey, well, it's still him. So there is that. You think there's anything long-term in the rebuild to worry about, or it's people get upset, but it's still the Jazz and it'll all work out?
Sure. I think there's stuff to worry about. Yeah. I mean, there's never not stuff to worry about. This is a never-ending worry job. And most of us in life are never-ending worries. We can shift them around a little bit, and they come and go, but there's always something. I mean, I don't know that anybody's worry-free as far as that goes. If it's 5, 6, 7 years and the hockey team's rocking and Utah is winning their third national championship in football, then obviously things are going to be shifted in another direction.
The third national title in football?
Yeah, I talk to Ute fans.
Nice.
Yeah. There's no reason why Cam Rising can't win 3 more titles.
How much eligibility has he got?
Forget about LeBron and Bronny. I want Cam and Cammy.
I'm going to stay at the Ute point with my kid.
Just go challenge for petition for that extra eligibility. NCAA's got no leg to stand on anymore. So
they don't, no. So, they're like the high school associations, really. And so, yeah, sure. But, I don't think it's going to come to that. I don't think that they're going to be that far away. But if it were to happen, yeah, especially now with hockey. And then, we're talking baseball. Say, hey, Mickey, Willie, and the Duke. We're talking baseball. Do they come in 2031, whenever that might be? For sure, yeah. And then, if the population is going to grow, which it seems like it is, then, we talk about the Phoenix area bringing all their fandom with them. Well, wouldn't it stand to reason that there'd be that too here? And we see it specifically with the Californians, and particularly it's not just California LDS people, it's Californians. I mean, the Southern California people obviously grew up rooting for those teams to a large extent. I think you've got a lot to worry about, but that's up to the management, and they do want to hasten this thing. Of course they do. Who wants to be out of the playoffs all things being equal, no one. Maybe Sterling was the last guy who didn't care about it, but he's long gone. And I think, Ryan Smith is. How do you not get caught up in the celebrity of it all? Well, could you imagine if he's on the front row and they're in the finals? Oh my gosh. And I'm not saying he's into it exclusively for the celebrity of it, but how do you not get caught up in it? To walk down the street and have 10 years ago nobody knew who you were, and now everybody knows who you are, and that has some downsides to it too, of course. But even aside from that, the competitive nature of him and Ainge. The thing about Ainge is, why is he doing this? He's the only reason why he's doing this is to win, because he'll be he's 65 years old, right? So does he really need this? He's got to have enough money to be able to survive by now, doesn't he? You'd have to think so, unless he badly mismanaged it. And I don't really know the guy that well enough to think that, but I would certainly think that he hasn't mismanagement. So why is he doing this at this age? Why is Pat Riley doing it at this age? The thrill of winning. You can't buy that feeling. You literally can't. And Pat isn't he pushing 80? And why is he doing this? Because it's fun. Why are the Stones at 80 years of age still out touring? Because the thrill of getting on that stage and looking out, and they play the stadiums, and there's 50, 60, 70,000 people out there. That's got to be an unbelievable rush. Right? You think the Stones are doing it for money at this point? Whatever money they make, they probably ain't even going to be around to spend.
I think they're pretty much set up at this point. They're good to go.
So it has to be the thrill of actually doing it.
The cheers, the thrill, the adrenaline rush.
Right.
And Pat Riley is not 80. He's merely 79, PK.
I said he's pushing 80.
Let's not push him any further.
And he looks great for that age, yeah.
Well, he wants to challenge media members to push-up contests at 79 years old.
One-handed, no less, with the theme to Rocky playing in the background.
He probably would, yes.
I was flicking around last night, and they had the thing from the Capitol with that one dude who was on Fresh Prince who does the dance. Alfonso, was that his name? And he's the host. And they had Smokey Robinson up there. He's 84 years old, singing his tunes, 84 years old. And he's singing, I second that emotion, and the crowd's going nuts and all that, right? Because it's the thrill of doing it. That's where Ainge is at. And he's going to get this thing done. I really believe it. And maybe it takes another year or two, but it's like you said, the short term for the long term. At some point, it becomes the long term for the long term if it continues. But, you listen to these guys in the draft and all that, and they sound sharp, blah, 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 blah. So away you go. And that's where they're at. It boils down to, can you think marketing, trading him get you there quicker, or keeping him can get you there quicker? Right now, I think keep him. Yeah.
Keeping.
I agree.
But is there a ceiling? Back to what you said about, hey, did two teams completely misjudge him? Maybe a little bit based on, being a late bloomer. And then how about this? One team misjudged him. The other team, that was just the price for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, they said, we liked him, but they thought Mitchell was an upgrade. So I don't know they traded him because he wasn't any good. They traded him because he thought somebody was better.
No, I thought they thought that Mitchell was clearly better at the time.
Right.
I don't think you can argue that. But now looking at it just 2 years later, is Mitchell clearly better than him? Well, that's debatable.
Debatable, but Donovan still has the upper hand in the debate. He's done more winning, but the guys around him are older and more prepared to win now than they were. And I guess where you can say they missed it is they should have turned Lowry loose earlier. He should have been a focal point of the offense in Cleveland, right? And then maybe things would look different.
Mitchell.
Right. If they've turned Lowry loose and they've gotten better results. But also the other guys on the roster are older now. I mean, they basically took those guys and put them in there and had them play from the get-go.
I think if I'm choosing between the two, I take Lowry.
You want the bigger player? You finally siding with me in pretty much every NBA argument I've ever had where I've defaulted to the bigger player?
I don't see where Mitchell is dominantly better. And that takes nothing, zippo, away from Mitchell. Absolutely nothing away from Mitchell. Because I think he's a fine, fine player. Absolutely. But I think I would take Markkanen straight up.
The one thing he's got is he can create his own shot with the ball in his hands. And that has not been a Lowry's strength. Now, depending on who he's partnered with, in the long run, maybe that doesn't matter at all, and maybe actually it's better that way. We don't know because whoever these big-time players aren't here yet, have not revealed themselves yet, if they are here.
Plus, I think he's got he doesn't have stars in his eyes. I don't think he grew up thinking, oh, man, I got to play in New York.
Right.
So there's other. But just on raw ability, I think they're very similar. Which then, do I want to give up two guys like that in 2 years? They don't come around very often.
Eventually you'll make a mistake if you keep trading them and you won't get one of them back. Because that's the thought, is that you'll get one of them back. Maybe you'll get one back who's younger, and you'll get these extra draft picks.
You can get younger if that's your goal. I guarantee you can get younger. You can
get younger, but you don't want to get any worse in the meantime. Do you want, well, I think they do want a player who is, this is one of the big temptations in trading him, if you can get a player who's closer to the age of the rest of your core. So presumably they can be together for a long time. And I can already hear Jazz fans just pounding the dashboard. You don't know they're going to be here, DJ. You were here for Mitchell and Hayward. You should know better. I do. But nonetheless, that's the temptation, is to get the group together that's of the same age. Although there is no guarantee that group will stay together.
There's no guarantees on anything. Literally anything. Nothing. There's absolutely, in anything in sports, what guarantee is there? I don't know. The only guarantee I can come up in the last 15 years, the only guarantee is the Lakers were going to take Bronny Jr. at 55. That was it.
You knew Markkanen was going to leave. Excuse me. Markkanen. I saw another.
Markkanen going to leave?
No,
what?
No.
Yeah,
James.
I'll get to the story I just saw. No, you knew LeBron was going to leave Cleveland for L.A.
I was told that.
Yes. And you were told the Dodgers were not going to resign a certain pitcher who'd gotten himself into trouble, and you just kept saying, not happening. Not happening. I've been guaranteed not happening.
I was told that.
There are a few guarantees.
Yeah, but they told me. Right. I didn't come up with a guarantee. They told me.
No, but you knew once you heard it and you knew the story in the background, you're like, yeah, they're not lying, they're not bluffing, and they're not wrong. That is the way that's going to happen.
Yeah, and it
did.
Both of them are true here. But you can't guarantee anything. And listening to Locke, I am so far less inclined to make that Markkanen deal with the Warriors. Now, that I got to see about the other guys, though. I mean, they're not. It's not. That's the great thing about the Jazz being in this position, is it's not about simply one deal, one team. That's how you drive the price up. A wise man told me once, several years ago, get multiple bidders.
That guy was super smart. And he was right also. That was another guarantee.
He was right beyond my wildest dreams.
So there's this one time, Yak, when you're still in junior high or high school, and the show has just ended, and you'll find this hard to believe, but PK was complaining about how little money he was making. In the very beginning, he didn't have a track record in radio, and I did. And I'd had multiple bidders, and he did not. And we weren't getting paid the same. He was complaining. And I looked at him and said, get multiple bidders. They will find the money. The money they tell you they don't have right now, they will find overnight if they really, really want you. And if they realize that maybe they can't have you because somebody else really, really wants you. Welcome to capitalism. This is how it works. And PK got multiple bidders, and he was like, oh, you were right about that. They suddenly found money they insisted they didn't have. I'm like, yeah,
life was good.
There you
go.
Good
now, but it was good then. That was my first taste of it. And that's sweet. And I think that's what Ainge and company are doing right now, is just sitting back. What's the pressure? What's the hurry? They've got time. There's no hurry. They've got at least 3-4 weeks.
So we've been talking about Spurs and Warriors, and you just can't have this discussion without the Thunder, although I just don't know. They're so good and they're so young and they got so many draft picks and how motivated they are to break it all up. But we've talked about that, and there's a story out of ESPN. Zach Lowe has a story that Sacramento and Miami are also intrigued. So
yeah. Right,
get to the trade machine this weekend and go nuts, Jazz fans. This is how you get to entertain yourself for free.
I just don't know that those teams have players that entice me. Everybody's got picks to one degree or another, especially if you get way out. You start getting in the 30s, who's traded their picks from the 30s? I don't know that anybody's done that. But what players do they have that excite me?
And I know that's a long way out, but I do love building that up because then if you hit and you have a good team, now you need a couple more pieces. Well, you can't add to your team because you're always drafting 25th because you're so good. But you got these other teams' picks. You constantly have multiple chances to add to what is hopefully already a good roster at that point.
All right. Earlier this week, PK was jumping on the bandwagon for Jonathan Kuminga. If the Heat are actually in on this, give me Jaime Jaquez. I'm all in on that kid.
Yeah, and he played well this season. There's no doubt about it. But
the limit on him is a really good role player.
Yeah, you go from the number 3, number 4 option to number 1 option.
It's a different world.
Life is dramatically different. It's not even the same. What do you like?
But at the same
code
time,
or zip code?
But at the same time, to Yock's point, if you've got to do a deal for salary and you need multiple salaries, maybe he's not the centerpiece of the deal.
Get a young
but
player,
you
though.
still insist on getting him. And if he doesn't turn out to be a star, well, you still need your
3, 4, 5 guys.
your Derek White, your Jrue Holiday,
but those guys, they're not near as valuable without the top guys.
dog, absolutely.
I can interchange 3, 4, 5 far easier than 1, 2.
Do the Kings and Warriors have the kind of talent to make this deal, or does it have to be a three-way deal for Ainge to get back what he typically wants to get back? I keep coming back to, I know the Thunder could make a trade with the Jazz because they got the resources, and if they think marketing's the piece that gets them the championship, they've got so many draft picks and young players. Give them up. Get across the finish line. It's worth it. After that, who's really loaded with what Ainge wants? And maybe, your point to the Minnesota deal, that was mostly picks. He didn't get a home run player out of that, although he did get other players that he could flip for even more picks. That trade is how they got the Lakers' first pick eventually in 27.
Understood.
Which everybody is holding their breath. And that is protected, I think, top 4, but could still be a good pick.
I got to have some talent back. I just can't. The strength of the deal can't be exclusively picks.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Everything you missed in this show will get you up to speed, including one of the most horrendous plays you could ever hope to see, as long as it's not your team that's doing it. We'll get to that next.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Sean Dursey is going to be wearing the number 50 for the Utah Hockey Club.
I've said it a million times, and I'll keep saying it. The excitement from the fans and, from the state of Utah and everybody who wants to be a part of it has been off the charts. Something that really, really has me excited to be playing here. And you could just tell that this is a place that wants to have a team, love a team, and want the best for their team. And I think that's all you could ask for as a player, to have passionate fans who with you in the hard times, but will enjoy the sweet times so much more. So I think that part of it, and I know the feeling's mutual throughout the team. I think a lot of guys have thought the same thing and have kind of been going in that direction of, we want to win for these fans because they are so excited. They want to have a team here. They're going to love us. They're going to be passionate about us. You know what? We're so excited.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. 9 a.m. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley at Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown in Sandy. Covered a lot of ground this morning. If you missed Pablo Mastroni, we had him on at 7:30, so in the middle of the second hour, you can listen and hear his thoughts on the win over Houston, looking ahead to Atlanta United, which is their third home game in a row, which is a big game because, PK, guess what happens when you have 3 home games in a row?
You're expected to get 3 wins.
And then you go on the road for 3 in a row. So better take care of business at home. Atlanta United coming in Saturday night. And they're playing their 3rd time in 8 days. RSL had a bye last weekend, so you complain when the schedule's working against you. The schedule's definitely working in RSL's favor in this one. So talked with Pablo, and then we also talked with Pablo about one of your pet peeves, golfing on the 4th of July with people who play very slowly in front of you.
I had one time a couple years back, true story, went out 3 hours to play 9, and the folks that were ahead of us just were awful, and they don't know it, and they think it's funny. It's not funny. Don't go out on once a year. You don't belong, or go to one of the lesser courses that expects that. We actually left after 9, got the refund for the back 9, and went up to Wasatch, teed off like 3:34, and finished in 3 hours, 3 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah, it can be really, really nasty.
Pablo caught a break yesterday, so that's out there if you want to listen to that wherever you get your podcasts. We also talked about some of the baseball. You didn't think it was the worst error you've ever seen. How about the worst regular season error you've ever seen?
I don't know.
That was a bad one. Trent Grisham was just jogging in towards a single, and then he bobbled it, and he dropped it, and then he couldn't pick it up, and then he's just getting booed, Yankee fans. Letting him have it.
Well, they've been struggling, too.
Yeah. It's been a bad couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's part of the growing frustration.
And the Reds beat him again yesterday.
People pay good money to see you bust it.
So busted.
Yeah.
Christian Walker, know the name, breakout star, Arizona Diamondbacks. And if Christian Walker had his way, he would play the Dodgers at Chavez Ravine every single day for 162 games.
Yeah, he's 32 years old here. He's been around for a little bit. But, he just caught fire and sitting to the last 2 games each. He said 2 home runs apiece. He's bashing it big time, and they won both games. They took the series from the Dodgers.
9-3 yesterday, yes. Then are we just filing Dak Prescott in a boot under there's nothing going on in the NFL, and people love to obsess about the NFL in general and the Cowboys in particular? He's in a walking boot. Reports say it's a mild foot sprain, and he's already out of the boot.
Well, I think the Dallas Cowboys quarterback might be the most glamorous position in sport, although it is relative to the player, too, because he's not even close to the most glamorous quarterback in the league. I think that is Mahomes right now, followed by Aaron Rodgers.
Don't worry, Mahomes was just photographed at Wimbledon.
He was. Had those shades on.
Yeah, I think that Mahomes has built himself up and his team with the success to be, in my mind right now, with the retirement of Tom Brady, the most recognizable. And then you got Kelsey there with his Swift and all that stuff. That stuff has long since bored me. I'm just not into that at all. I couldn't care less about it. I don't understand the outrageous hype, but that's just me. But Mahomes is the guy. He's the most, I think right now, he's the most famous player in the league, although I think the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is the most famous position in the league.
And Joe Burrow is neither one of those things, but pretty famous in his own right.
Burrow? I'm not so sure about that.
Really?
In Ohio, but if you put him in Louisiana, do people know who he is?
Yeah. He played at LSU.
Okay, Louisiana.
That was a bad state. Of all the states for you to pick.
That's why I picked it.
Yeah, I think they absolutely know
because
him there.
If they don't know him there,
but to your point,
then they're not going to know him in Arizona.
But to your point, could he walk around in Denver? It's an NFL town, but he could probably glide around there maybe.
You think that if he were walking around in New Orleans, he would be that?
Yeah,
yes.
I think LSU. I mean, you can't go 15-0.
150%.
Yeah, but I mean, Jalen Daniels has replaced him.
Still, doesn't matter.
You don't 15-0 national champs. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I can see it, but it's LSU. It's like
if you pick Oklahoma City, if you pick Portland, if you pick
right, but I
Charlotte.
didn't pick that. That's my point.
Yeah, but to your other point, though, Dak Prescott is going to get recognized in a bunch of those places because the Cowboys are glamorous. And
yeah, I could have picked Pullman, Washington. I get that, but I was. Maybe it was a wrong point, but that's why I went.
All right, Bozeman,
with that
Montana.
Point. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no.
I would think he'd be able to skate unscathed. But yeah, I mean, Ohio is where he's from, so yes, I don't think Burrow is that popular, especially in a sport where you're wearing a helmet all the time. If it were the NBA, maybe it might be different, where you see literally the
Joe
entire
Shiesty's
time.
The man.
Who?
Joe Shiesty. A lot of people call him that.
Oh, I thought that was you're talking about my cousin.
No.
We've talked NBA this morning. The Warriors have added Buddy Hield in a sign-and-trade deal with the Sixers. Hield and Steph Curry are the top 2 3-point shooters in the NBA over the past 5 years. He gets a guaranteed $21 million over 3 seasons. The Warriors trying to put somebody and something around Steph Curry. Locke thought that made him top 4 in the West. Of the top 6, top 4 seemed like a
I mean,
reach.
he thought that last year too.
Yeah. Giving Steph too much credit.
Yeah.
Single-handedly being able to put a franchise on his back.
Yeah,
and
he
carry him.
thought that they were a title contender last year. I give him credit. He's holding on to a wrong take.
46 wins for them last year, which got them 10th in the West.
Buddy Hield is going to make that big of a difference? Since when?
Since when? And if he was, why did he just sign for $21 million over 3 years? That's not a very big number in the NBA these days.
It's not. No, I think that's where he's from, and he has an affinity there.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he thought last year. No. And remember, Kuminga sucks.
He was down on him. He was not. He's not in love with Kuminga.
So then who do they got? Moses Moody?
They got Steph. They have Steph's brilliance and all the easy hoops Steph gets for everybody else.
And who's their second best player?
Kuminga.
It's Kuminga.
Some people would say Draymond, but there's not a chance.
Draymond gets in the way of winning
He
sometimes.
does. And it'd probably be Podzimski. He's the number 3 guy.
And he's a nice upcoming player. We'll see what level he can settle in at. But, I mean, Kuminga only took 2 threes. So it would be better if he took 5 and missed 3 more?
No. But he has become their 3rd leading scorer, and Clay's gone, so Kuminga. And projecting him now in his 4th year to have even more of an impact, especially because there's more shots available. Well, we'll see if they're available. Theoretically, Thompson's role is available.
Well,
I mean,
that's
Hield's
what the
gonna-
great
Buddy Hield's gonna
all-time
take
Buddy
shots.
Hield has
Yeah,
done.
Hield's going to take some shots. There's no doubt about that.
Kuminga is going to yield to Hield.
Oh, there it is. Way to rhyme. Took a minute, but you got there. It was good. Joe Ingles to Minnesota. We spent a lot of time on this morning. If you want to hear this, it's in the second hour of the show as well. Joe Ingles to join Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley. There is just no end to the number of Jazzmen who are going to reunite in Minnesota. Who's next? Bojan? Royce O'Neal? Donovan just got his deal, so that seems unlikely. Who's up next?
Well, Royce O'Neal just got his deal.
Yeah, he did too.
I would say Rudy Gay.
There it is.
What about George Niang?
Gorgeous Georges?
The minivan.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's ready to go.
Is this their year?
I don't know if this is their year, but I think they're ready to go. I mean, they're going to be good, but you're asking me to talk about next June?
Not knowing who's going to be healthy then and what other deals are going to be made and what's going to happen at
We
the
just
deadline.
got barely done with this June, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
What's shocking to me is that we went back and for some reason looked at the 2014 draft, and that was Jokic, which means he's been in the league 10 years.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to be 80 before I know it.
In the break, I was just reading about marketing and the potential deals. That one thing is that a lot of these teams are capped out close to it. So any deal, he might have to get the extension first. So just because he gets an extension doesn't mean he's necessarily staying. It could mean he's staying. He could stay. All of this could just be noise, and he could be here. But for some of these teams, if he's going to get the extension, he has to get it before the trade happens.
Right.
So, in case you're looking for the order of events, keep that in mind.
Well, that could be part of the trade.
He gets the extension,
yeah.
and then away he goes.
That would be the formality or the prelude to the trade.
Yep. All right, DJ and PK, that is a lot of what we have been talking about this morning. It's all available wherever you get your podcast. You can download and listen. And we'll be back with your feedback next. And a lot of people weighing in on the Minnesota Jazz or the Utah Timberwolves or whatever we're calling them. That's next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone, and it is time for your feedback. Joe Ingles is going to play for Minnesota. How do we not root for the Timberwolves now? A lot of people aren't commenting. They're just liking it, PK, over and over and over, because I think a lot of people are going to root for Minnesota. And actually, Kathy, the librarian, leading the way. I'm probably going to cancel Jazz Plus and do League Pass so I can watch the T-Wolves.
Ah, that's interesting.
That's all in right there. However, I mean, plenty of people, Jim, well, the fact that Jazz have the Timberwolves draft picks is probably a good reason not to root for the Wolves. AC Slater, because we have their picks. And DC, oh, look, a bunch of Jazz fans that want to root for teams, so it makes the Jazz future less rewarding. LOL, sounds about right.
Help me understand this. How does rooting for or against Minnesota affect the actual picks?
Oh, it's the psychic energy of the universe, obviously, PK. I have a relative who says that you just got to really root for them, and you got to. I'm like, man, if that did it, the Chargers are still playing San Diego, and they have 20 Super Bowls. Come on, it's not what it is.
It's not what it is.
It's
what it is.
Not what it is. It's all about the 5 or 9 or 11, whatever the sport is, people on the field / court / whatever.
I have a friend who, when we were kids, no one had cell phones, and the phone rang. He had an older brother. So he tells him, "Hey, Tim, Tim." He answers, "What it is?" He answers, "What it is? It's the phone. And if you're not here in 2 seconds, I'm hanging up."
See, there's rules to live by. There, you know where he stands.
I thought that was a great answer.
What it is? It's a phone.
And he knew what it was because the phone, and we weren't in a big house, so you heard the phone ring. And then if somebody calls your name 2 seconds later, well, it probably means the phone call's for you. Wasn't when you were a kid, man, and you're in high school, and you got a phone call, and like another family member answered it? Didn't you have that anticipation? Ooh, somebody's calling me. Suppose it's Susie from chemistry.
And yet it never was.
Maybe occasionally it was, but at least for me. But didn't your adrenaline get going? Now you don't even have that.
That's a whole different world, because in those days the phone rang and you had no idea who it was, what it was about, who it was for. Could be mom getting the call, could be dad getting the call. Theoretically, it could have been your brother. And
one
you
of the
didn't know.
joys of life. This generations, they're missed out on that.
And now you look at your phone and you're like, that's spam. I'm not.
I mean, and I can recall getting a phone call, and it was Susie, and hey, my parents aren't home.
Okay, stop. There's like 4 more minutes of this until Ben comes in and rescues the audience.
The audience? It's a day after the 4th on a Friday.
I would say that when I drove in this morning, that there was about a quarter of the traffic there normally is.
Oh, yeah.
A large chunk of America gave itself a 4-day weekend.
I
Now,
had
that'll
the-
change over the course of the day. People will get up and get going, whether they go into work late
sure.
or they're
Stuff,
running
well,
a list of things
go
to
to
do.
friends, play golf, go to a pool, whatever it might be, go shopping. I can honestly say I had one of the probably I was tied for the easiest commute I've ever had.
Knock, 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 knock. If you'd had a problem with your commute, we all would have had a problem. It would have been hard work. Hey, the band of the day was Huey Lewis in the news because Huey Lewis is 74 today. You know, he's living in Stevensville, Montana, which I had never heard of.
Montana, huh?
So I Googled it during the break. Less than 2,000 people. Now, if you have Huey Lewis type money, and they had a few hits and they toured, and I'm assuming Huey's doing just fine. Would you go to a small town, 2,000 people, and a place that can have a pretty long winter? A glorious summer, but a long
As
winter.
my permanent residence.
Yeah, who's to say, right? He's the old Rick Majerus line, he's a citizen of the world.
Yeah. I mean, Billy Joel does those things in Madison Square Garden. I think they just celebrated his 100th appearance there. And so he lives on Long Island. And then I saw a thing that came up. He has a $75 million mansion in South Beach.
Well, you can't be in New York all the time.
But he's a New York guy.
I'm a New York guy. Until the weather turns.
By the way, on Huey Lewis's net worth, between $20 and $25 million.
Yeah, he's got another place.
I assume he had a place in the Bay Area. Isn't that where he made his name?
He grew up in the Bay Area. There was a divorce. He moved back east to New York or Jersey. Where was he from?
I think he was originally from New York, went to high school in some
Yeah.
private school spiel.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think
He's also-
of him like the Grateful Dead and these Bay Area people.
He was all over the place. Then he went to Cornell for a while, and then he went back to the Bay Area and decided that's where it was at. But then he was overseas for a couple of years trying to launch his music career too. So he is a citizen of the world. An interesting life, to be sure. Didn't finish at Cornell. He started, and then he thought, no, I really want to do music. So he didn't finish.
Good call.
Yep. But he is a Bay Area guy. I mean, he'll always be linked to the Bay
That's
Area.
what I think.
We saw too many anthems from him, and he did live there until the 8th grade, and he went back there later. So yeah, that's his history. So maybe he's got a place in the Bay Area, and then just.
Well, doesn't Phil Jackson have a place in Montana?
He does. A lot of people do. A lot of them in Montana, you go up there, and I guess that's why Kevin Costner made a bunch of money with that show Yellowstone. And the whole premise is people coming in from outside.
I've never been to Montana.
You haven't?
No.
You never drove out the north entrance of Yellowstone?
No.
Oh. I mean, I've been to Montana, but it's a super, yeah, you drove like 10 miles in Montana. That doesn't count.
Okay, that doesn't count.
Well, it does. That's why I've been to Montana.
No, I mean being in Montana to experience what Montana has.
Right. Go to Butte and go to Bozeman and go to Glacier National Park and all that kind of stuff. No, I haven't done that. I haven't vacationed.
I haven't been to
taken a week
Montana
up there.
or the Dakotas.
The Dakotas are on my list also. I think I'm at 38 or 39 states. So. All right, PK, we're done. Enjoy the weekend. Ben is here, ready to go. Next, and he'll have more on what the Jazz may or may not be doing. Stay with us right here on The Zone.